Hello, friends. Welcome inside, at least just for me right now, Ben Garrett, the Riverland Roofing Studios. The little house up top. Riverland Roofing for all your roofing needs, 662-644-4297. Visit them online at riverlandroofing.com. Brad is currently getting set up. He had a little bit of a crash of his computer to start things, so he's a little late to the festivities today, but plenty to cover because for the third time this spring, media got an opportunity to check out Ole Miss football spring practice. We also talked to Pete Golding, Luke Haas, Ole Miss tight end, some highlights to play for you as well. Lane Kiffin keeps doing Lane Kiffin things. Pete Golding was asked about those social media antics in his press conference. A great question from one Neil McCready at Rebels 247. And we'll have that answer and what kind of he was referencing and all those kind of things coming up. Welcome inside, everybody. Glad to have you here, Mary. Hotty toddy. She says all the time, God is good. I agree. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. I'm doing that today with y'all as we await Brad Logan showing up. Can someone live stream the baseball game? Yes, here's something we've been getting regularly at the Ole Miss Spirit, that QR code right there. The Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, an affiliate of On 3. Sign up today for just $1. We'd love to have you. New members right now. If you sign up today with this QR code, you get 50% off an annual subscription. So go to the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, an affiliate of On 3. This has been a regular question. Can someone live stream the baseball game? There is no TV for baseball in Pearl. Ole Miss has got Southern Miss, a ranked matchup in Pearl. That first pitch is coming up right now, actually. I think we're getting started here shortly. So we'll be talking about that, but no, there isn't any ability to live stream. If we could, we would, but we can't for myriad reasons, not the least of which we don't have the broadcasting right. So I don't even want to test that and see what happens there. So we'll update you as we go. We have the live ticker going up. Or I have it right here on my other screen. I'm looking over at this one. I'll pull it up at times, especially as the game gets going, showing you updated stats and scores and this, that, and the other. First pitch, 6 p.m. Central Time, so about 6:05 is when that one will get started. Ben with his best Matt Luke costume on. First of all, it's a Brave shirt. It's the Bravos. But Matt did have a tendency to wear those short sleeve pullovers that made him look like sometimes that he was wearing a trash bag. I deal with that as well, man. I like pullovers. Mostly I like layers. When you're like me and you grew up as the fat kid, all right, whether I was fat or not is immaterial. In the brain, I was always the fat kid of the three brothers. You like layers and you like darker colors. Well, this is as dark as it gets for the Braves, and it's a layer that I can show off my team, who's off to a hot start despite yesterday's loss to the Marlins. Pumped for the Braves, and I wasn't into it at all last year. So, yes, I'm doing the Matt Luke or maybe the Bill Belichick if I had the hoodie. I have short sleeve hoodies. My buddy Benjamin Hopper one time called it Bill Belichick chic, which I kind of dug. Brad Logan's shown up. Hey, Brad, about time you showed up, buddy. Mr. Tardy, how dare you? How are you?
Yeah, the computer did not want to act right today, and it crashed like 5 minutes before we were supposed to go on. So what do I see on top of your head?
I know. It's hair. It's my hair. I love how Dakota King noticed at least the hair is washed and clean today. Yes, an hour ago. So, like, because of the evening show, I'm not really feeling it, but, I like my hat and I like to do my thing with my pointing and all that for Riverland Roofing. But today I thought bring out the flowing ginger locks, Brad. I don't got it like you do. I'm never going to have the spiky stuff. But, hey, at least we're both here now. Computer's working okay. We're going to be good.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay.
Good to go. Just crashed on me.
Yeah, it's never fun. We're going to have like running updates. The first out has been made. It's the top of the first inning. Ole Miss and Southern Miss and Pearl. I have the StatCast right here, Brad. You're going to be proud of me. I actually really prepared today. We got a lot of stuff to do.
And we'll get into this, but, I mean, I was receiving text messages from people that not normally would text me about baseball scores and stuff, but like, why is this game not streamed? And I think a bigger question is, at some point, it's kind of got that Arkansas War Memorial Little Rock feel to it. At what point is it not benefiting you to do this game? So here's the thing. If I'm Ole Miss, I'm like, oh, what benefit is it to play in Pearl? Now, I'm not taking shots at Pearl, Jackson, anyway. Then you have to ask, how many people are coming to the game? If the game were streamed and were made available, that's great. But if it's just from a radio standpoint, which, hey, nobody knows how much I enjoy David Kellum and Brad Henderson.
They're
Listen
awesome.
to them all the time.
Awesome.
That's not the point. the point is in the world of streaming that we have, how is that not an option? And if it's not an option, then what benefit is it for the university to play this game? So that's what's kind of fascinating to me.
We will keep the game up best we can. We want y'all to hear from Pete Golding today. Want y'all to hear from Luke Haas. Some great stuff from the Manning Center today. But really, to start things off, we'll talk about Southern Miss. Ole Miss, we'll leave it up until the end or the middle of the inning here. What was your opinion of what went down today? I know it was a short viewing period again. I mean, it was less than 12 minutes this time. I think it was timed out at 7.5. Anything that Ole Miss fans, in your opinion, need to know from practice specifically today?
So I found myself watching the defensive backs a little bit deeper. And I had a couple conversations with some people that were there. And I have been pretty bullish on the defensive backs, specifically because Harry Harrison, who, for people that don't know, Harry was an All-American at Ole Miss and also is on the Ole Miss Radio Network. And he is someone that I have a very high regard when it comes to not only just football in general, but specifically defensive backs, because, like I said, he's played it, he's seen it. And so I kind of fall back on having a conversation with him. Talked to a couple of other people today, and they are incredibly bullish on the defensive backs. You talk about an acclimation period. I truly believe that that's going to be an area of strength. And I've also talked to other people that believe the linebacker group, not just the first two in Keaton Thompson and Lou Ferrelli, but the linebacker group as a whole. What did I say?
Thompson. Hold on one second. Hold that thought. This is the second question about this. Pete Golding sent out one of his shark emojis, which for those that might not be or might not talk in the social media language that all of us do on a day-to-day basis, means that Ole Miss picked up a football commitment. Otherwise, he doesn't really talk on social media, which you'll hear from him about here shortly when we jump to them. It could be, I think Ole Miss is on commitment watch for at least two players. One of them, I don't know if this is the one, but it could be any day now, is what I was told from a program source. Keeson Taylor, 4-star Rivals edge, is on commitment watch. If I did RPM picks, which means those crystal balls at 247, Ole Miss, On 3 has the RPM machine stuff. If I put in RPM machine picks, which I don't, I would put one in for Keeson Taylor today, 4-star Rivals edge at like 80% confidence. So I'm not sure that's the exact player that it is, but certainly I think he's one of the two that I know they're on commitment watch for. The second one I don't have as strong as I do Keeson Taylor. But yes, if you made me guess, it's going to be one of the two players in my brain, one of which could be Keeson Taylor. And right now, JP Robertson, let me see if I can add it to the screen. Let me stop sharing that. JP Robertson, if you haven't seen this, Brad, has given up a hit. So I got to get that off of there. See, I'm trying to do so many things at once. Here's that. Add that. All right. So right now there's 1 on, 2 outs, top of the first. It's 0-0 between Ole Miss and Southern Miss.
Are we having a watch along?
A little bit.
We're kind of having a watch along.
A little bit. I want you to finish that thought, though.
Yeah, let me finish this while we're all watching the game here, because we can't watch it live, so why not watch the stat sheet? A couple of names that jumped out today that I was told is that, once again, Ant Davis, the freshman, is continuing to get positive reviews. And I think you compound that with, I think we say the words "take a step" a lot. You say it, I say it. People in this line of work say, who's going to take a step, regardless of the sport. But I do believe Jacoby Hobson is someone that we're excited to see can take a step.
Mid-first, now he got out of it. Got one runner on, but now JP Robertson gets
no runs on one hit. There were no errors, and one runner left on base. At the end of 1/2 inning, it's no score between Southern Miss and Ole Miss.
Will you please do that the whole way through the show? We're not going to watch the whole game. We're only going for about an hour here.
I've always wanted to be the public address guy at Ole Miss. I think Glenn Waddle does a great job, but I've always just let me do a game, one game.
You're doing a game right now. Will you do that, please? Okay, thank you.
So in front of 5,000 people, how many ever were watching? I just did PA for you. So there you go.
See, they're already saying yes. Please do it. Look at that.
But yeah,
Ole Miss fan,
obviously we're not talking about Thompson. I said it again. Sorry, Keaton Thomas and Lou Ferrelli. By the way, I have said Thompson his entire life. So thanks for pointing that out. It's Keaton Thomas and Lou Ferrelli. But after that, Taj Butler, that's another name I keep hearing. And so, I had a conversation also with the same person today about defensive backs, about linebacker. And if you remember, there were players at linebacker last year, unfortunately, the Grambling linebacker, Andrew Jones, just really come alive at the end of the season. And I would love to be able to say that he was coming back for another year, but he really kind of found an extra gear. And so you really want those tackle leaders, but I truly believe that if you can get some production out of Taj Butler and Hobson, and then we'll see Ant Davis. I just keep hearing his name a lot.
I don't presume, or I'm not going to put it out there and put some expectations on. Ant Davis has done well, but I don't think Ole Miss is going to be relying on any freshman at linebacker.
I don't either. I'm just trying to,
100%. And I'm agreeing with you because I've gotten that a lot at the Ole Miss Spirit, that QR code above Brad's head. Please sign up today. 50% off an annual sub. We're talking about linebackers today, all on the Ole Miss Spirit. And I mentioned this specifically. If Ole Miss has to rely on freshman linebackers like Ant Davis this year, that's probably not good news for this Ole Miss defense, because Luke Farrelly and Keaton Thomas and Santarin Perkins, who gets more edge rushing opportunities because of those two aforementioned linebackers starting with him, like the Ole Miss is in a good place. It would mean underperformance of any of those freshmen, or maybe an Ant Davis is like otherworldly, and that could happen. It's just much rarer now. I do think he's had a great start to the spring. It's encouraging for life next year after Santarin Perkins and after Keaton Thomas, right? When you have to have guys, because Pete Golding and Ole Miss under Pete Golding is still going to be transfer heavy, but you're going to see more of an emphasis on sign and develop and retention. And I think that Anthony Davis, like, it's encouraging to see him impact now because you don't need him now. Next year, he really needs to be a big part of it, if that makes sense. So it's great, a great sign to see that he's had a good start, because he's having a good start amidst a really packed room, right? A really packed room at linebacker, probably the strongest linebacker room Ole Miss has had in the modern era, in my opinion, in terms of collection of talent. I don't know if it's going to perform that way, because I remember the days of, man, pick your guys. Rory Johnson, Patrick Willis, Eddie Strong. I can name them off. I could rattle them off, and so could you. DeMarcus Gates, for example. There have been some really productive linebackers, Chance Campbell and Mark Robinson together. I don't want to put those kind of expectations, but at least the early returns, including the young guys that you'll be relying on for next year in Anthony Davis, the early returns matter nothing but extraordinarily positive.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and then we can move on, but a person close to the situation also said, and this is their opinion, but it is an opinion that is shared by a lot of people that are in the room, so to speak, that are very close to the program. If you talk about Keaton Thomas just right now on paper, along with Luke Farrelly, the best duo linebacker, I had one industry source tell me that it could be the best linebacking duo in modern history. Now, I know that says a lot, and I'm not ready to just throw that out there yet, but I do believe when you start talking about Dwayne Dotson and Cassius Ware and people like that, I mean, that's pretty finite territory. And so I do think it's a high bar. But, this is a proof of concept. This is not a true freshman coming in, or these are two linebackers that have proven their moxie on the field. And, the way that they're playing together, the way that linebacker room is kind of coming together. And I'll end with this. When you talk about Hobson, Butler, Davis, and those other linebackers that can come in, I kind of go back to, talking about offense and, as well as we believe the running back room is going to be, obviously led by Kewan Lacey. When you look at Mekhi Frazier, Josh Dye, those type of running backs, to be able to spell him, Shakai Mills-Knight, to come in and give some minutes. In years past, specifically last year, it was a situation where Lacey had to have it. They had to be on the field. It had to have the first down. It's not so much like that, I don't think, going forward. But when you throw in Frazier, you throw in Dye, not to mention the running ability by quarterback Trinidad Chambliss, I think it's just going to free up Lacey to get those minutes that he didn't get last year to get some rest.
I think most notably, keep him healthy.
Yeah.
In the Fiesta Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, that man was playing with a banged up shoulder. It was hurt. And when he came out, the difference was notable. And it's not a knock on Logan Diggs, but it was. And the fact that Damian Taylor and other options couldn't even put much pressure on Logan Diggs to get snaps behind Kewan Lacey and then not push Kewan, because you're not pushing Kewan, you're spelling Kewan, but doing enough in practice throughout the season to where Ole Miss goes, oh, yeah, he's a reliable option. Man, like it's drastically different now. Like those other guys last year, the room just didn't work out. They needed to completely overhaul the room behind Keywan Lacey. I think the one thing I was really most encouraged by hearing from Pete Golding today was mentioning Shakai Mills Knight, JT Lindsay, those guys, because we haven't heard a lot from Shakai. You and I saw him at the Manning Center. He and I talked about the Braves, who I'm repping today, and he looked like a starting edge in an SEC program. But to hear that he's mixing in, because this is an important second year for him, and then JT Lindsay, who is a former top-ranked recruit that came from LSU, a transfer, it shows you the depth of options are different. And they all have a different makeup, too, where JT Lindsay is a little thinner, more of that like dynamic, shifty Jalen Walton-like, in my opinion, if we want to do Ole Miss comps. Shakai Mills-Knight is Derrick Henry at his, like, if he becomes, his very best version of himself, which he hasn't even shown he'll do that yet, but it was encouraging to hear Pete Golding in that way. Hey, we got a man on second. There's Ole Miss. Colin Reuter at bat. Hey, go ahead and set the stage. I got to answer some questions in the chat. Tell the people what's going on the screen. Because
it looks like TV. I did see Judge struck out. Becerra just doubled to left, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Hey, real quick. I want to say this.
Hold on. Ole Miss fan 198824. You're not the first person. You won't be the last. Why? Where's the game? It's not on TV. It's not on TV. And Devin Bullock, I don't know why. How in the year 2026 is there not a TV broadcast for a top 25 baseball game? It's a legitimate question.
Look, you can use the ESPN app. Like every game on here, every single game is streamed except this one. Maybe Harvard, Yale, or something. But like I looked through the app and everything. All right, real quick. So Becerra just doubled down the left field line. It's got a runner on second and one out.
Do your play-by-play.
No, that's only half-inning updates, Ben. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
So I met Tristan Becerra's mom. So long story short, my dad saw a couple of parents in Batesville at an antique store, and they talked, whatever. So I wanted to go say hello and tell them how much I appreciate them being, nice to my dad or whatever. So I saw Tristan Becerra's mom, and she was like, so tell me this, super nice lady. And then sure enough, he hits a bomb that day. So awesome. If I see her again, I'm going to tell her that I was good luck. But super nice lady, and I've really enjoyed getting to know some of the parents that sit over in that particular section C at Swayze Field. So I just want to point out, thank you to Miss Becerra, super nice lady. But yeah, so bottom of the first, 2-2 count, and Becerra it's on second with one out.
Good. All right, let me get to some questions in the chat because there was a couple. One about recruiting, and I'm looking over here because I've gotten a second screen. It's actually made things a lot easier.
I don't know how I've got 4 screens. I don't see how in the world you do it with one screen.
I was doing it with just my laptop.
I have like a screen here, an iPad here, and then my notes up here with the roster. Everything is, nobody can see behind the camera, but it is insane what it looks like.
We're talking, this is Sam Smith 4902 talking in the chat about Pete Golding's shark that he tweeted out. I think it's one of 2 players, one of which would be Keyshawn Taylor, the 4-star edge from Illinois, who is going to announce or be publicly made official within days, I was told. I don't think Caden Moss is one of them, but right now, as of today, April 14th, 2026, when Caden Moss signs, I think he's going to sign with Ole Miss. But I don't think that's who it is right now. And then as far as there was another recruiting question in here.
Real quick, while you look for that, I saw Kelvin Bolden on the phone a lot today, which is no surprise. But I saw a lot of movers and shakers in regards to Mississippi recruiting at practice today. A ton of recruits I didn't see personally, but then on social channels I saw that there were a lot of recruits in town. Once again, and then we'll get to the question. I just feel like that this staff that is laced with Ole Miss former players is really going to recruit Mississippi hard. It really feels like that's the way it's going to be. So we'll see.
Ole Miss wasn't able to drive in the runner from second base. So the end of the first inning between 2 ranked teams in Pearl, Mississippi.
Yeah, Will Furnish struck out. And Unimar struck out. So Becerra stranded at second, no runs, no hits, no errors, and 1 runner left on base. We head to the top half. The second inning, it's Ole Miss nothing and Southern Miss no score.
Come on,
tell me that wouldn't play in Swayze Field.
Keith,
I know you're listening.
I kind of like my Vin Scully voice, and I didn't get any compliments for that. The question here on the screen from @BJT114: where does Ole Miss rank in the top 4 for DGG? DGG being David Gabriel Georges. He's a 4-star running back, a 5-star running back, the nation's number 13 overall prospect, according to the Rivals Industry ranking, from the Baylor School in Tennessee. Keegan Croucher, Ole Miss quarterback commitment, a 4-star. He transferred there, so he's here. He's there now. So now they're teammates. The same school that produced Shakai Mills Knight, Bryson Sanders, and other Ole Miss Rebels.
Yep.
Ole
Zach
Miss
has been all of that recruiting, by the way.
Yes, and if you want to read about DGG and others, I did a war room about him 4 days ago that you would not be surprised today about his top 4 if you'd have read it at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, an affiliate of On 3. That QR code above Brad Logan's head, always be in the know, always have it first at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, an affiliate of On 3. We've been talking about DGG. He releases his top 4 today. I wrote about him a couple of days ago in the war room, and I think Ole Miss is right now probably number 2 in this recruitment, but they're really making headway. He's the consensus number 2 running back nationally. He and Croucher were supposed to have visited last weekend. I don't know if it happened. I'm pretty sure it did, but I don't want to tell you wrong. And that's where things stand. Ole Miss is deep in the thick of it, has made a real move for him, and he's an absolute stud, man. And I think holding on to Keegan Croucher and really holding off so far Indiana, Kentucky, Georgia
committed a quarterback you saw the other day, Ben,
which is massive for the recruitment of Keegan Croucher specifically, because Kentucky really was pushing hard. I think Will Stein's going to do great things in Lexington, man.
It had grown stale under Stoops. It really had.
It had. So Keegan Croucher being with DGG at the Baylor School, which has produced other Ole Miss Rebels, on top of holding firm, kind of reaffirming his commitment to Ole Miss. I think it's an encouraging sign as far as his recruitment moving forward. And in my opinion, DGG, wherever he goes, he ain't sitting in year 1.
No.
Would he be the perfect Kewan Lacey? I mean, he wouldn't be the only one. Ole Miss would still have, you would assume, at least 2 of Joshua Dye, Frazier, assuming that they don't transfer or it doesn't work out for them. JT Lindsey, they'll be on that roster too, and they'll keep adding there. You're replacing the single season record holder who's going to set more records, if you made me predict, next year, a Heisman candidate for 2026. But DGG would come into that room and he'd shake it up, and buddy, you'd go, oh, the heir apparent? You could see it with Keegan Croucher on. It's why Keegan Croucher and holding on to him from now until signing day is massive for myriad reasons. You get your quarterback, and Ole Miss understands this now more than ever. You get your quarterback in a high school class, everything else can kind of start to fall into place. If money isn't an issue, and Ole Miss has made where money isn't an issue anymore. If money isn't an issue, Ole Miss sells itself. But you need that quarterback. It just helps more.
I want to stay on the lines of quarterback with Croucher, and I want to talk about Deuce Knight too, because I watched him today, and again, we had 7.5 minutes. I'm not complaining, but we had 7.5 minutes. And Ben, I sent you a highlight. I don't know if you got it queued or not.
I don't. Your videos, they don't format right. It's my fault. I had all the other stuff. I'll get it.
That's okay. Anyway, it was a rollout pass. Literally, we don't get to see very much. But what we did is, I don't want to say that you can read composure and that sort of thing, but it just felt like that he and the receivers, from what we didn't get to see a whole lot, he was throwing to managers. And I'm just trying to do the best I can to let everybody know what we saw. You really get more from B-roll from what the university puts out than anything.
Sure.
But what I liked about it was
because they get more than 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he talked to Trinidad a lot while I was there. I'm not saying that they need to have some great relationship or whatever, but they talked a lot, and they were using their hands, and it was just kind of like they were going through games play. And he's much taller, and I'm not saying he's gotten thicker since he's been here, but I don't remember him being that broad the last time I saw him. So I have no doubt that in the weight program that's going to do really big things. But I want to talk about Croucher just for a moment. I think, number one, staving off Indiana, Kentucky is big. Now, kind of a question for you, Ben. What's keeping him in the boat, in your opinion? Is it Joe Judge? Is it JDB? Is it Golding? Is it the college football playoff? We didn't really talk about this. I'm kind of throwing this out of the blue on you. But what do you think the reason that Ole Miss has done such a good job with keeping him and keeping him committed as quarterback?
First of all, I I think that let's go through the whole quarterback room. Trinidad Chambliss, his closest confidant is Joe Judge. He's here for a reason. You know what I mean? Despite interest from other schools in the portal specifically. Deuce Knight, his connection was with Kelvin Bolden and Pete Golding. Absolutely. Pete Golding is the primary Mississippi recruiter, if you ask me. I mean, that's where I feel about it.
Yeah.
Let's go to AJ Maddox. That's a Pete Golding guy. And even though right now it's not working out the way you want it to, you're not a starter or anything, you're not pushing for it. Like, for him to still be here is in my opinion, compliment to Pete Golding and his ability to relate to players, to develop players if they trust the track that he's putting them on. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason, there's a method behind his madness, even if it takes longer than you necessarily want. Walker Howard coming back after transferring to Louisiana Lafayette. What am I getting at here? It's about relationships. And one thing that I think everyone can agree on about the previous guy, relationships aren't his strong suit. Relationships are Pete Golding's strong suit because he believes you have to build from the players out. And I think that's one reason why it's been such a seamless transition for him, why so far Ole Miss has looked at the exact same under Pete Golding as it did under Lane Kiffin, in certain respects like high school recruiting better, because of the relationship angle and Pete Golding understanding that the human element, analytics and playing the robot game and playing, like, I'm all about it. I follow the analytics. I want to put it in a spreadsheet and for it to say something specific, and that's how you make your decisions. The human element still matters, folks, especially in a world where it's not even year to year, it's month to month. Kids can leave whenever the hell they want to. And you can go about it one of two ways. You could say, well, that's the cost of doing business, and not even try to get to know them and say they're all commodities. Or you can treat them like what they are, which is, in this corporate world, a commodity, but also a human being, which I think Pete Golding has done better than the former guy. But don't just take my word for it. Hear from Pete Golding after practice today. We only got a few minutes to the media, 7.5 for spring football viewing, but at least you got to get in there, Brad, and here Pete Golding is answering more questions about social media antics, pouring into players, the portal, you name it. Here's Pete Golding after practice.
What have you liked about that running back room behind Q1 this spring? Obviously, other guys maybe get a little bit more opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, the mentality. I think they're a team-first group. I think that's led by Coach Wilson, and they've worked extremely hard. Not of egos in there, but they're all a little different. And like we kind of talked about before, we wanted some guys with some experience, which we brought in. And then obviously bringing in JT, which we think has an extreme upside. Obviously hasn't had the experience, but really explosive, got top-end speed. So really like how that group's just going to work. Obviously with Kiwan, coming back from the injury, has allowed those guys to get a lot of the reps and us rotate a lot of those guys, including Shakai. So just really appreciate their work ethic and coming to every day, like a pro. And I think that's led by Coach Wilson. But I would say the mentality, number one, and then obviously the depth of that position. Regardless whether you're going the 1, 2, 3, or 4 up there, it's like, man, this kid's got a chance. And so you don't see that drop off that I felt like we've had before. So it's in a pretty good spot.
Obviously, no spring transfer window anymore. Were you a fan of that? And I guess how has that sort of changed the way you guys operate?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, I'm a fan of whatever they put in place. I'm not getting into what my thoughts are. I think, whatever the rules are at that point, that's what we got to work under, and we got to try to do it better than anybody else. So, once they went to 1, then obviously you need to kind of have your roster in place as far as from a depth standpoint. I think that was the biggest thing that, the old spring portal allowed you to do if there was injuries or, you took a guy that wasn't who you thought he was, then you had the opportunity. But, I love the fact of there's not another, period here where we're negotiating contracts and super concerned on losing players that you've invested a lot in, this short to the season. So I'm a fan of it, obviously. But it did make sure that you really had to do a great job, not only in the portal, but also in your high school guys. Who could we get in here early, right, as far as getting in spring and seeing what they have. So we have a good plan, once fall camp in the summer of how you dispersion the reps. What I think it also allowed us to do is be a little more real during spring ball. I think last year you're really worried about how do you manage the roster, and you're not doing depth charts and all those things because a guy could get pissed off and leave at the end of April if he's not thinking he's the guy. So it's allowed them to self-assess a little bit, and do a better job grading and tell them exactly where they're at, and this is what they got to improve on, because they can't go anywhere, which I think is really important for everybody. So, no, I'm a fan of it.
What have you seen from that defensive back room so far? There's a lot of new faces. So.
Yeah, I think flashes. I think it's the biggest thing. I think you watch a couple snaps, like, man, that's what it should look like. That's it. And then you watch the very next snap and said, holy shit, what just happened? So, the inconsistency of that, obviously, we knew, which is, I think, spring is so important for, is consistency in performance, especially at that position where, if you screw it up back there, the band's playing and it's not yours, So just the understanding of being consistent, right, and not making more plays against us than they do for us. We have certain coverages where you can take chances and certain coverages that you can't. And I think the big thing coming out of spring is understanding what's the strength and weakness of the coverage, and have an understanding where's my alignment, what's my assignment, my key, right? But understanding every coverage is not designed to take away everything. And I think, when you got instinctive guys back there that are really competitive, they want to stop every play. And when they start doing that, the eyes become issues, right? And they kind of get out of their lane a little bit. So I think consistency is the biggest thing. But the flashes are there, that we haven't seen before, just based on ability to play man-to-man and range and the ability to come up and approach and strike. So some of those things that the intangibles of the position, they're there. But I think the consistency of it has to improve.
Do you pay attention to stuff that happens on X that gets where you get mentioned by certain people?
I really don't. Obviously, I've got kids, right? And we've got people that work here and all that do all that. So things get brought up, or somebody will send me a text message. And so you definitely see certain things. But, I'm not good enough at this job to be on that all damn day and do this job. I don't know how they do it. More power to them. I'll learn one day. But there's enough things in the building that I need to do at a high level. But, yeah, I definitely see some of it based on what gets sent to me.
I loved that answer, man.
Yeah.
What a great answer. And we're going to go into what that was about, not just the golf trolling with Pete Golding getting to go. I think it was to the Masters, right? With Chris Malloy, Ole Miss golf coach, one of his best friends. He got to hit a shot off of a tee box. Really cool. But, of course, Mr. Twitter Fingers can't keep Ole Miss off his lips, off of those, Twitter fingers that he's got on a day-to-day basis. So we're going to cover that because he said something interesting today, as well as Luke Haas, who we got to speak to. It was kind of crazy, dude. I forgot. We didn't really get to talk to him much last year. So hearing from him was really cool. And he's got such a massive, massive role to play for Ole Miss this year. Daquan Wright is gone. They have to not just replace that, but keep him healthy, because health was the issue for Luke Haas. When he was in, he produced. He scored a touchdown in the Sugar Bowl. Man, he was like the number one offensive pickup in the portal last year, and they couldn't keep him healthy. So you're replacing Daquan Wright with a Luke Haas that you hope to be able to utilize alongside of him last year. His health matters, and we're going to talk about him as well. But first, let's hear from some of our sponsors. This is Talking Champions.
Homes and businesses from the whims of nature. You need more than just quality materials. You require Riverland Roofing. Licensed, insured, and certified, Riverland Roofing offers not only the assurance of excellence, but a tailored approach to your unique structural needs and budget. To learn more about what Riverland Roofing can do for you and the community, call them at 662-644-4297 or visit riverlandroofing.com.
Hey, Rebels, your truck is here. Ellen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford presents the all-new Ram Rebel. It's Ram, the Rebel way. Send an unmistakable signal. Rebel, 24/7. Ram Rebel, from your friend in the car business. Ellen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford.
Come by, let's be friends. I'm Warrior Philip Hearn. Raising my family here in Mississippi, I've tried to teach my kids to help others. I learned that from my parents. And as a Mississippi lawyer, I want to help you too. If you're hurt in a traffic accident, 18-wheeler wreck, or have insurance trouble, call 601-720-3541. That's my cell. You call, I'll answer. Let's get started. Make your first call to the Hearn Law Firm today.
Our thanks to all of our sponsors that support us here on Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Brad Logan. If you haven't already, that QR code above Brad's head is for the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com to fit him on 3. We'd love to have you, man. If you're a new sub for our spring sale, you can get half off an annual subscription simply by scanning that QR code and joining us at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com and affiliate on 3. Brad, you want to go ahead and update baseball? I'll pull up the
Well, I was clapping because Federico singled to the left side, run on first. And then I heard Jones reach on a fielder's choice at third, out at second. So they tried to turn 2, and then Dom Decker flied out. So a runner on first base with 2 outs.
There it goes.
Foley flies out, and I believe that's going to end the second, and there it is. So the ESPN app is no runs on 1 hit. There were no errors and 1 runner left on base. At the end of 2 from Trustmark Park, there's no score between Ole Miss and Southern Miss. Tell me that wouldn't play. Tell me that wouldn't play at Swayze Field.
Well, here's the thing. I know Richard Cross is like next up. David Kellum's going to be doing this.
Very good.
David Kellum's going to be doing this for 2 more decades, but Richard Cross is up next. I'm just saying, give me the Pearl game so I can start out with a little.
Well, they should have allowed us to Pat McAfee the Pearl game live on location.
Dude, now that would be amazing. That would have been. That's what we got to pitch. We got to be like, guys. Okay, cool. We'll do a live from the field on Facebook. You know what I mean?
We'll just show the score from time to time because there's nothing going on. There's no score after 2. We could just kind of go into our whatever we're talking about. I thought it was a great question today. When Pete was asked about, I think Michael asked a question about the transfer portal, and rather than go into a bunch of detail about what he likes or dislikes about it, he just basically said it's what it is, and we're going to do what we have to do. Yep. And what I like about that is Pete is going to adapt as he needs to, and I thought that was a really good answer to that question. But also a really good question by Michael Katz of the Daily Journal, and the whole portal thing now, as people in the chat are popping off. I truly believe that we had Pete Nakos. He had a chance to listen to that interview. Go back to our podcast, or you can watch it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, and however you watch us on the Talk of Champions. Watch that interview with Pete Nakos. I thought Pete really kind of broke down this whole world of NIL, and specifically about how President Trump, along with other administrators in college football, are trying to change some things, and honestly trying to make some things more common sense. Because that's frankly what the NCAA hasn't done and probably never, ever will do. You talk about a useless organization. They came out yesterday or today and levied tampering violations against Iowa. Kirk Ferentz in Iowa.
Wait,
we haven't heard a word.
That was new because they did that back in 2024. He got a suspension for a game. Is that not?
I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading something, but I remember everybody was commenting under that. What happened with Michigan? Nothing. They won the national championship. Nothing was done. So I do like what the president, I love what Senator Tommy Tuberville had said. I know you'd kind of kick back a little bit, but I really like the fact that you have 5 years to play 4. If you want to do a medical hardship in there, if you want a traditional red shirt, that's fine.
Is this based on the same thing that happened? Is that what this is?
I thought I just read something that was new. Is this new?
Yeah, this is new. They vacated wins. First of all, vacated wins.
Wait a minute. So Iowa voluntarily suspended their coach, I think is what it was. Anyway, the NCAA leveled these and hasn't done anything to Michigan, and it's just the whole point I'm making is it's just a ridiculous, inept organization that needs to be thrown away. And so the good part about what Senator Tuberville was saying, 5 years to play 4, red shirt, medical hardship, what have you. But I love it that you have the 1 free transfer. And after that, it's a traditional transfer rules of years past. Again, am I just an old traditionalist guy? Maybe I've got a little bit of that in me.
Yes.
Because people will say, hey, that's not fair. You should be able to go where you want to, make all the money you want to make. Maybe that's true too. Also, there's no rules in place for coaches, so coaches can up and leave whenever they want to, whatever the contracts say. So I get it. maybe I'm just living in a bubble, but whatever. That I do like that they're at least trying to get some form of normalcy about this transfer portal. But Pete wasn't diving off in it today, just like when Neil McCready asked him about do you look at X, do you see all that? And I thought Pete's answer was great, and he tried to bite just a little bit, but he didn't bite the whole way. When he said just a little, he says, "Why are you asking me that?" Knowing full well why Neil asked him that, because I posted the video of when he teed it off, and Lane reposted it, so I know where everybody saw it. And so whenever everybody saw that clip, they immediately thought, I wonder if Pete saw this, and here comes Lane. Here comes Lane clapping back. So, we haven't even discussed the fight and that post. So,
where did that come from?
I don't know.
Man, there's like a ghost. There's like a wizard on the other side.
But you can't tell me that the SEC, that the governing body of it, maybe not LSU, but people in the SEC didn't see this and said, I don't know how fast you can get that down, but it better be as fast as your fingers will work. Because if you want to try to incite violence, September 19th is already going to be a zoo. I have no doubt that Oxford Police, the UPD, and everybody is going to do all they can. But if this game's at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or, heaven forbid, 9 o'clock, my goodness, it's going to be an absolute zoo. And you got the coach for the team that's coming in here that just left reposting, FAFO. And if you don't know what that means, just Google it. And if you're under 18, get your parents' permission, because it's not for the faint of heart. Anyway, he took it down, and it was just insane. And then today, Ben, you and I shared some information about the press conference about Lane's now backtracking about how good his team's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not even finished with spring yet.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah, and I'm going to play that in just a second. Shocker that the man with no convictions can't even stand on things like this. He's got the fastest delete button. No one loves to post and delete.
I'm going to say he absolutely had to delete that.
Of course he did. But even if he didn't, this is who he is. But he can't stand on it. It's like it's like he went online. It's like he goes online every day with a couple of highway patrolmen to his left and right, trying to act like someone he's not. Because what he is a vain, pathetic person.
Well,
football coach.
Pete is not going to get in the mud with him. That was obvious today. And I really applaud the question. And I thought it was a great answer. I thought it was a question that should be asked, and it was, because that's not the type of question that gets asked in that room very much. And I thought it was a great answer. But here's Lane when he was asked about the scrimmage on Saturday, and specifically being because quarterback that he has been dealing with a medical procedure, and this is what Lane had to say.
That was discouraging in the moment Saturday, offensively. The way that we played, the lack of explosive plays, the lack of plays made in competitive situations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's discouraging, not where I would expect to be, but I also have extremely high expectations. Nobody has higher expectations for us as a program than myself.
Bullshit.
So, Charlie reminds me that, when we made a decision to sign Sam, that this was going to be part of it, that you weren't going to feel as good in the spring because he wasn't going to be available, so you don't have your quarterback, you don't have arguably your top receiver out there. And so, but it's a lot of work to do there. It doesn't happen.
Oh, sorry.
Overnight,
doesn't happen overnight.
You can't think just because you sign the number one portal class and you come in here that, you're going to national championship.
Yes, you can.
It doesn't work that way, and study time, it doesn't work that way. It didn't work that way last year.
There it is.
So
there it is.
When I say there's a lot of work to do, that's not talking about years. That's not buying time. It's none of that. It's just saying there's a lot of work to do when you come into a program and you've got to change a lot of things when you take over, and not just offensively, but the whole culture,
the whole thing
of a program.
Now we're tempering your expectations.
Get guys, it's the middle of spring.
Yep.
We don't play a game, luckily, today. But on the other side of things, I would say our defense, is doing a great job. and
which you don't know
some
shit
of those
about.
pieces had returned in the system.
Mm-mm.
Coaches' familiarity with each other,
Familiarity.
and the additions, that showed up Saturday. You see two elite edge rushers that just got here. An elite linebacker and elite safety. Those are critical playmakers that made a lot of plays Saturday and gave the offense a lot of problems.
Brad?
Well, immediately, I saw it. You sent it to me, and immediately what I thought was he opened the doors to practice on Saturday, which, by the way, I would enjoy seeing Ole Miss practice on Saturday, but we don't get to do that. That's not the point.
Not the point.
And so I think what he's doing is deflecting at this point. He's trying to temper expectations. And that toothpaste is so far out of the tube, it's already been flushed down the toilet and halfway to the Gulf Coast.
Yep.
There's no way of getting that toothpaste back in the tube. And so I don't know what's causing him to do this. I don't know if it's Sam. I don't know if Sam Levitt's progression is not as far as he would have liked.
Cowardice.
I don't know if the offense is not meshing like he would like it to go. Here's the thing, too. He's got a team in Ole Miss waiting on September 19th that's going to be clicking on all cylinders because they're clicking right now. I mean, sure, there's some work to be done. We talked about linebacker room. We talked about acclimation with maybe Ann Davis or maybe Caleb Cunningham taking an extra step or maybe getting some running back. Ole Miss has got its returning quarterback, most of its offensive line coming back. By the way, the two tackles I've been told are doing swimmingly well.
Well, Kerry's turn is off to a slow start.
He is, but the other two are doing really well, what I was told. The wide receiver room is Deuce Alexander is just taking the top off, is really becoming that dude, I was told. So all of those things, what I'm trying to say is Ole Miss has got some things figured out on offense. And on defense, nobody has been more bullish on me than the Ole Miss defensive backfield. And we don't even have to talk about the linebackers. We don't even have to talk about the defensive line. One thing Pete Golding's not doing, Ben, he's not tempering expectations. He knows when he took this job what was expected out of him because he went to work. Went to work and won a couple playoff games, by the way, and was that close from playing in Indiana in the national championship. But he went to work because that defensive backfield, the linebacker room, was not ready. They didn't have the depth they needed to. But he went and he filled that room up full of depth. That team, if it plays Miami again, it will have that opportunity. It will have that depth. I think at the end of the day, as we see here, Deuce Knight throwing some balls here. We're seeing Trinidad Chambliss. Here is Deuce Knight rolling out. Is this my video?
This is you. I did this while you were talking.
All right.
I thought you would be so proud of me.
So that was the video I wanted everybody to kind of see. Again, not a lot. He's throwing to a manager or whatever.
Hey, Ben, good job.
Good job, Ben. Thank you. All right.
That's what I needed.
The way he rolls out, as you see Randall Joyner, he's rocking and rolling. You see what I'm talking about? He looks bigger to me than he looked, months ago. But again, looks really good. And then we see Pete just kind of walking around doing this thing. And he is a coach to where during practice he's very much a hands-on coach. He goes side to side, and we've heard him in press availabilities talk about it's kind of an acclimation period from the defensive coordinator over to being the head coach. And we see Trinidad Chambliss. Boy, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. As you're watching on YouTube, as you're streaming, that's what you're going to see next year.
That was good. It's almost like the videographer cared about what he was doing. Let's do that again.
As we see, I'm interested too, and I'd love your thoughts in the chat. Is this a situation where we will see Deuce Knight in some packages this year?
Well, you saw that last year with Austin Simmons and Trinidad. Trinidad had packages in the first two games. The whole thing was, as I was told multiple times, and it turned out to be true, if Trinidad gets this job, he ain't giving it back. I'm not saying Deuce Knight is in a similar situation. I don't think he is. I don't think Deuce Knight is a threat to Trinidad Chambliss at all.
That
even
defensive line room's awesome. Look, that defensive line room looks great.
Someone asked about that in the chat. I would have to go back and look, but they asked specifically about the defensive line starters and how they've looked. Well, William Eccles is an All-American. He looks like Walter Nolan. Franklin, Cam Franklin and William Eccles tied for second for the team lead in sacks behind Princeville last year. You returned both of them and supplemented the roster around them by both turning Centarian Perkins into a more down-to-down pass rusher because you got good linebackers in Luke Farelli and Keaton Thomas and Taj Butler, but also Blake Purchase and Jonathan Maldonado are similar profile players to Prince Will last year coming out of the portal. Prince Will didn't have much of any kind of a resume when he came to Ole Miss from Nebraska. I mean, his numbers were pretty puny. Same and Blake Purchases and Jonathan Maldonado, they don't have the production on their side to write home about either. But what I'm saying is like you go and financially make a smarter decision rather than pay $2 million for Prince Will, get two in a similar developmental stage, and if you can get one of them to produce at that level, let alone two, it's just smart money. It's the way you're supposed to build rosters in terms of not just throwing all the money at it, but throwing it at it smartly. So like I think Ole Miss, as from a defensive line perspective, is in a really good place, a better place today than it was going into last year, quite frankly. Deshaun Womack, he's been all potential since he was a 5-star top 50 kid coming out of high school in St. Mary's in Maryland. Now he's at Auburn with Wayne Dorsey, who coached him at St. Francis. And yeah, that former Ole Miss Rebel Wayne Dorsey, one of the best human beings. I love that dude to death. He's a star on the rise in coaching, and Deshaun's where he needs to be because if Wayne can't get out of him, he just doesn't have it. So he's just been more potential, and that potential never really showed up. It flashed at times, but it was very few and far between, and not to the impact Ole Miss needed, especially at the price point that they paid for Deshaun Womack. Compared to Blake Purchase and Jonathan Maldonado, it's no contest in terms of starting point. I'm not saying they're going to produce as Prince Will did as Ole Miss's sack leader. What I am saying, though, is in the spring compared to last spring and going into fall camp, compared to last year, Ole Miss is in a better place because you have Walter Nolan again. Last year you didn't. Cam Franklin, you were hoping for the breakout. He did break out. Santarin Perkins now gets to rush the passer more. He had 10.5 sacks and tied Princely Uman Mielen the year prior before he had to transition to a more traditional linebacker role. He's still a linebacker at the next level, and he spent all last year being a linebacker for his NFL tape. This year, there could be more duality to his game because he's put it on tape. You know who he is, and what we do know is, man, if he can add the physical trait, like from an edge rushing perspective, that's what you wanted him to do more than anything else. I can't pronounce his name, but he plays for the Cowboys. He's wearing number 6. Donovan Ukuaru, I think, from Boston College. Man, they drafted him last year. Santarin reminds me a lot of him. He was like a second, third round pick. He's more of an edge guy, but like as a linebacker, he can show you that he can do it on a down-to-down basis, but now he doesn't have to. So what do I think this defensive line is? I think they're ready to get after it. I think they're well on their way to being more in line with 2024, which is historic. And Jared Ivey and those guys, like those kind of guys don't get any. But like, I think Cam Franklin today is as good as Jared Ivey when he left.
I agree, and that is no knock on Jared Ivey.
No, Jared Ivey just won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He's awesome. He's what everybody knows my love for J.I. We did the Ivy League together. Basically, I learned how to do this and all of this stuff production-wise because of J.I. and the Ivy League. And he did an interview recently, and he gave me a shout-out, and his mom sent it to me, and I just want to take a minute to say, I love you, J.I. I love you, Miss Tracy. And it was so it made my heart smile, man, to get that from y'all. So I appreciate that. I'm going to give a shout-out back to J.I., man. He taught me a lot just as a 19, 20-year-old kid in terms of how to do this a different way and do it in a better, more engaging way. So I'm so thankful to him. So this is not a knock on him at all. It's just Cam Franklin. He's leveled up to that place.
Talk about moms, man. Regina Eccles, talk about a huge advocate for Ole Miss football and Ole Miss as a whole. That's obviously William Eccles' mom. And so shout out to Miss Regina.
We need to get Miss Regina on here, man.
Yeah, we need to get her on the show. But Jordan Renaud, Jaheim Otis, Michael Barrow, Jam Brown, Blake Purchase, Jonathan Maldonado. I mean, those names are going to add some very, very good depth, much needed depth to that defensive line. We already talked about Will Eccles and Cam Franklin. And so you start talking about Santarin Perkins. And by the way, Judd Udemark singled through the left side. Owen Pano doubled. Runners on second and third or first and second.
Hey, yo, whoa. Pano believers, truthers. I am one of them. You know this, Brad. Yes. Back me up.
Yeah, you are. We all are.
Stand up. Stand up.
Yeah, runners on first and third with no outs. All right, showing 2 outs on your board. So I'm behind, I guess.
No. I was just showing 2 men on with
no outs. Bottom of the third. Rebels have rubbers in business right now. No score. The bottom half, the third inning from Trustmark Park. No TV, ladies and gentlemen, but you do get a walk along right here. And by the way, go ahead and tune up David Kellum and Brad Henderson at your other speaker so you can keep up with the radio crew there. I love the depth on the defensive front. We've talked about that. And here's another name, Andrew Maddox. I had a chance to visit with his dad very briefly today. I had a chance to visit with Anthony Senior much more last week. And he's a guy that played at Delta State, was in a furniture store, and I think it was either Rick Rhodes or Ron Roberts. Somebody have to clean the story up for me. But they found him in a furniture store. I think he was signed by Florida State out of high school. Ended up being an All-American at Delta State. Incredible football player. Went and played in the league. And in any event, all of his kids play at Ole Miss. And I know people say this a lot, but whatever. Great football player, even better person. And just really, really cool guy. And so it's really cool getting to see him. Is that a run? Do we have a run? Just so if you think you're at Swayze Field, ladies and gentlemen, here you go.
Tristan Bassetta singles to third base. Judd Udemark advances to second. Owen Pano scores. It is 1-0. No one can hear that, Brad.
Nobody can hear that?
What are you trying to play?
That's when they hit a home run. They either play this or who dropped the bomb on me.
Okay, just tell me which one to go find, and I'll pull it up to play rather than you have to stick your phone in the thing. Come on, Brad. Now we know when we do a watch along what we're doing. But there you go, 1-0 in a ranked matchup. Ole Miss has won 4 in a row and 7 of its last 8. Maybe. I can't remember my math. But this is a big one for myriad reasons. The RPI for Ole Miss is 13th nationally. For some reason, D1 baseball leaves them at number 25, despite a superior resume to Arkansas at number 16. And
that's
Florida,
that's a work for traffic. And once again, I love it.
And I'm playing right into it, aren't I?
You are playing right into it, and I will give Kendall and D1 baseball credit. It is a work. Ole Miss is a top 3 to 5 baseball program in the country. When they crap on Ole Miss from a ranking perspective, they know it will drive traffic, and it works. It is a wrestling work.
We have to get to this Luke Haas interview because we don't have much time left here. At JBL104 in the chat, basketball portal update. Indy Okafor is visiting this week. Zach Berry at the Ole Miss Spirit has posted multiple stories today with targets and visitors upcoming. So go to the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, affiliate of 103, that QR code on your screen. Scan the QR code. We provide updates every single day. There's a long, 500 post thread with targets and updates, as well as I had some stuff on the board today. I'll go ahead and give you a little something. Hold on. Because it's not just Indy Okafor. Posted about it earlier, if I can find it. Hey, vamp for a second, Brad, while I look this up.
I got you. Here's what Ole Miss needs.
I still can't hear anything.
What?
I still can't hear anything.
You dropped a bomb on me, Ben. Ole Miss needs a home run.
That is one of my personal favorites. I could sing it, but I don't want to torture.
Yeah, right now runners on first and second, still no outs, and Ole Miss up 1-0 in the bottom half of the third inning. We've got a new pitcher coming in for Southern Miss, and his name is B. Littlejohn. Tristan Bassetta just singled to third, RBI. Judd Udemark advanced to second, and Owen Pano scored. So 1-0 Ole Miss with the new pitcher coming for Southern Miss.
Well done, Brad Logan. That's Brad Logan of Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben at Brad_Logan COTE.
You and I talked a lot about basketball today.
Yeah. All right. I finally found it. Thank you for your patience. Iowa's Alvaro Fogueras. He's visiting Ole Miss. He's got visits with Ole Miss, Louisville, and South Carolina over the next few days. Played one season at Iowa. Averaged 8.4 points, 3.6 rebounds, 2.2 assists. Shot 33% from three. He was the one that hit that shot for Iowa in the NCAA tournament, that three to beat Florida. Ole Miss has also reached out to Loyola Marymount forward Jalen Shelley. They've been in contact with Southern Miss forward Tyler Weeks. All of this can be found at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, and affiliate of On 3. That QR code on your screen. Absolutely check it out, man. Scan it. Join us, new members, with our spring sale. You get half off an annual subscription at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com, affiliate of On 3. So, yes, there is some portal stuff, but it's been a football-specific day. Our Tuesday evening show comes after our limited viewing for Ole Miss football, but we get to also have some nice conversations with Pete Golding and select players afterwards, including Luke Haas today. This is Luke Haas coming up on Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Brad Logan. Luke Haas is finally healthy, and he's the tight end one in that room now that Daquan Wright is gone?
We get to talk to you much last year, but you kind of had, ups and downs, starts and stops. Just for you, how was that season?
It was a learning experience. It was something that, personally, I haven't, been through quite yet, but it was something that I definitely needed. I mean, I feel like with everything, with ups and downs, you're going to be able to take that and learn from something. And I feel like I learned a lot last year just with, my situation. But I feel like it ultimately made me stronger and, able to, deal with adversity and just keep working.
Just with how it is these days, everyone has a decision to stay or to go. What made you want to stay in Oxford?
Personally, I don't like leaving. I had a hard time, leaving last year, leaving Arkansas. I just feel like you build a relationship with guys, even though, nowadays, people are leaving constantly. But, that tight end room, those are, my brothers. Since last year, I didn't want to leave them. And I just felt something, special about this place. And then with Coach Golden coming in, I've known him from high school when he was at Alabama, just being able to have a relationship with him. And then just whenever all the pieces were put in place, it was just felt like a no-brainer.
I know at Arkansas before you got hurt, you were really productive, and then last year there was a lot of people buzzing about you, and then you got hurt preseason. How frustrating was that? How much did that set you back?
Yeah, I mean, it frustrating, but I mean, it was out of my control. I did the best I could to get back. I probably came back a little too early, but I mean, it was a good experience. I mean, injuries suck. The best you can do is in the weight room and just get your body to where it won't happen. But I mean, they happen. So you just got to fight through it and get back. And that's what I try to do.
What was the injury here last year? Was it leg?
It was a foot. Yeah, it was unique. I mean, I definitely tried to come back early just because I really wanted to play week 3 because that was a big game for me, just with friends and family and stuff like that. So, I mean, I pushed as hard as I could, but the foot was a little bit different. But, I mean, really from, week 7, 8, then on, and, now I feel like my old self again. Freshman, sophomore year, I feel great.
What have you seen from kind of those new guys that have stepped in?
It's been awesome. I mean, I didn't really know. I knew Mike from high school, and then I knew Brady a little bit just from his brother. And then, of course, we got Hayden, Wyatt, Jack, Caleb, all those guys. All the guys who've came in are new. We've all meshed really quick. We all get along. We love being with each other. We love the meetings. It's been great, and they work extremely hard.
This just felt like a totally different spring for you than last year's. Then, as you said, you're back to yourself from a couple years ago.
Yeah, I feel like I've got my edge back, which is something that is big for me, and I just want to keep that going forward. But it's been a great spring so far.
Man, if he's got his edge back, Brad, I mean, he was the top offensive addition for Ole Miss in the portal last year. More so than DeJon Stribling, according to recruiting services. Whether you value that or not is true. On 3, 247, as far as offensive weapons added in the portal, which was disproportionately slanted toward offense with Lane Kiffin, and it was far more even though they added more offensive players than defensive players in the portal this year under Pete Golding. Luke Haas was number 1. Not DeJon Stribling, not Harrison Wallace. It was Luke Haas. And if he is back to being himself, Daquan Wright, absolute monster, but Luke Haas, I'm not going to say similar impact or even replicate that because this is an NFL draft pick, but certainly within that same kind of production, that production area, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a dynamic player if he can stay healthy. So to hear that he is right now, and I don't blame him for rushing back. And if you read the Ole Miss Spirit at the time, we told you what was going on with him.
Yeah.
We told you that he was going to be
Chuck
back.
was all over that.
So was Ben, our first reporter. Didn't get no love from Brad today. It's some bullshit.
I know you did. That's why I said that, by the way.
You son of a gun. You got me. Got me to say a bad word today. Started out with Psalm 46.
By the way, we've got a score update.
Yep.
Will Furnace singles up the middle to give the Rebels a 2-0 lead. The bottom half, the third inning. 2-0 Rebels.
There you go, Fern. Yep, I know Dakota. I know. Wait, there it is. I know Dakota. I said a bad word. I've been doing better, too. I'd almost given it up all for Lent. I'm going to try and
yeah, that basketball is not for sale, James. Thanks for being a wonderful contributor to our podcast.
But no.
We appreciate all of your positive thoughts, your financial donations, and being a vibrant part of our chat. The basketball is not for sale.
Oh.
All right, I want to talk tight ends real quick.
Yep.
yes, great interview with Luke Haas. He really wanted to come back for that Arkansas game. There's no doubt. He just couldn't do it. But what really is cool about that tight end room is, as good as Daquan Wright is, you talk about paving the way. He did a wonderful job finding that little soft spot, sitting down. Honestly, in my opinion, Daquan Wright became the modern-day Caden Lee last year. I think he took a lot of catches away from Caden Lee, kind of finding a way to get open. You got Michael Smith, the redshirt sophomore transfer, along with Brady Prescorn, or another redshirt sophomore transfer, along with Luke Haas. You got a really good tight end room, and that's definitely an area where Trinidad Chambliss, he's going to be able to really exploit that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Michael Smith is still in a yellow jersey. The transfer from South Carolina, so he's limited, but from body shape and type, doesn't have a lot of production. He looks more in line with Daquan Wright. We'll see if Ole Miss can get something out of him, but I really like the room. Hayden Bradley is one that I think people are sleeping on. Really do. I think Hayden Bradley could end up being their tight end too behind Luke Haas. We all know with Brady Prescorn following Caden and wearing the number 86. I mean, that's the Peach Bowl MVP in 2023. There's going to be expectations there. I would just say, give him time to settle in. Just like Michael Smith, he's more what he could be than what he is right now. So it starts with Luke Haas and his health. And to see that he's healthy is such an incredibly important piece for Ole Miss potentially, as Ole Miss baseball and Pearl loads the bases, already up 2-0.
Loads the bases. Ducks on the pond, Benjamin.
Ducks on the pond. Hayden Frederico, who's hitting like over 400.
Yeah, he's been red hot.
No, it's like over 700. Yeah, set the table here, because I want to give some of these guys some credit, man, before we get out of here. Like some of these baseball guys, it was not going great. It wasn't. And
hey, by the way, I sent you a video, and if we can't play it, I understand. Cody McMahon, congratulations in the first round. Top what number did she go? I don't have it in front of me.
Gosh,
the first round, man, it was awesome. I thought it was cool. Coach Joe was there. They embraced. We did see. Who is that? Did we see William Eccles there? I think Dalen Flowers
was 11th over. She went 11th overall.
11th. That's awesome. Thank you, everybody. And we saw Cam Franklin. I didn't see him. I'm sorry. I didn't see him, but Dalen Flowers said he was there. So, but Will Eccles, he was on camera. We saw him, and that was great seeing all the support for her. And, I mean, look at this women's basketball program. Coach Joe, she's red hot. She's already posting GIFs of that she's getting people joining the program out of the portal, and really great time to be at Ole Miss Rebel, specifically in women's basketball, but really cool to see Will Eccles there supporting Cody and the entire team.
4-0 now after Cannon Golden singles to center field, bringing home or sending Hayden Frederico to third base. Will Furness scores. He struck out with a man in scoring position earlier in the game, but Furness comes through with a single. Tristan Bassetta scores as well. It's 4-0 in a ranked matchup in Pearl. Your Ole Miss Rebels up 4-0. I wanted to give some shout-outs. Hayden Frederico hit .545 over 4 games last week with a double and 2 RBI, and he continues that strong work with a walk to load the bases for Cannon Golding, who pinch hit for Jones, man. Are you kind of surprised in that?
No, I'm not. Brad Henderson said on Rebel Yell Hotline with Yancey Porter and Chuck Brownsville Monday night, which, by the way, if you missed it, you can hear that interview in its entirety on the Ole Miss Spirit. That's an affiliate of On3, or you can catch it on the Talk of Champions podcast network. And what Brad was talking about was he anticipated seeing a lot of people hitting and a lot of pitchers pitching. So I expect it's going to kind of be a car wash of different players and different pitchers and everybody coming through. So I anticipate seeing a lot of arms and a lot of different folks at the plate. So not surprising at all.
Peyton Lamb, 70-67 from the chat. Am I crazy, or is the game not on ESPN anywhere? You are not crazy, friend. Yes. Thank you, Brad. You are not crazy. It is not on TV, so that's why we've had the score box kind of running the whole game. We've been doing play-by-play a little bit. If Ole Miss wins this game, it'll be their 6th straight win.
And it will also be after the 20 innings. Remember? They won that game on Sunday or Saturday and busted through the glass ceiling of the 20-inning scoreless, and the rest is history. We'll talk with Mike Clement, I think, Ben, tomorrow. Is everything good with Mike, or we don't know?
Yes, I don't know what time it's going to be.
Okay.
But yes.
I will be on the road in an undisclosed location, so I'm going to try and join because I want to talk to Mike about this red-hot streak. If everything holds, and just like they were saying, just like Ole Miss fans just said, it'll be 6 straight. and that's
6 straight.
following a sweep by Mississippi State. What a weird sport college baseball has been.
Is it not? It's you can't predict baseball, man. You can only momentum is the next day starting pitcher usually, but offense like Judd Udemark and doing something special when your team absolutely needs it can be just as important of a spark as well. And that rally to steal the series against Florida continues to still pay off. It's to maybe be the crux, that fulcrum point for this Ole Miss baseball team that while D1 baseball continues to troll, Baseball America moves them up and others as Dom Decker flies out, sacrifice fly to score Hayden Frederico. It's 5-0 for your Ole Miss Rebels. There's no TV. That's why we've been doing this. Yeah, man, it's impressive what they've been able to do after 20 innings of not scoring, and for Judd Udemark to spark that rally and steal Florida. They're continuing to ride that wave. I wonder if at season end, let's hope so, that when we look back on this season, that's one of the first things we're going to remember, dude, is like Judd Udemark got this thing started. Our friend Judd I can get Judd on here pretty soon. I got to get that done, don't I?
He and Will are great interviews. But what we're seeing, I think someone put it in the chat a little bit ago, it's manufacturing runs. It's small ball. It's Mosley getting the bunt down. It's the sac fly. It's the Will Furness. He legitimately throws the bat at the ball, trying to get the ball through the infield wherever he can. It's doing the little things, and that's why the game's 5-0 right now. And that just goes to show you that, and we'll talk with Coach Clement about this, but one thing that he said on the Hotty Toddy hotline with Yancey and with Chuck was people are doing what they're supposed to do, and they're doing it at the right times, and they're sacrificing. They're not putting themselves before the team. This was not asked, but what I want to ask, if I don't get to ask him this, I'm going to lean to you to ask him. Have they altered their swings after that 20-inning streak about trying to get the loft on the ball to try to hit the home run versus trying to get the base hit?
That's a great question.
I'm interested to ask that because he may say no, but I tend to believe that this is a situation where things weren't working and it was literally a punch out or a home run. And we left the bases loaded multiple times throughout the last couple of games against, having that game on Friday night against Mississippi State with an opportunity to win it. And you don't win that one, and then State gets hot, and then they win the series. And then you're just kind of like, gosh, it's the season over. But credit to the team, man. I think we're going to, all of us, how many thousands are joining us right now? All of us are going to come back here at the end of the season and say, hey, guys, do y'all remember that game against Florida when they had 20 innings in a row or 20 innings in a row when they didn't score? That kind of was the difference in the season. I tend to agree, but I really think the difference of the season was not only breaking through, but winning that game against Florida, because that completely changed the dynamics of the season. If they go over, you win one game against Florida and then one game against LSU, the season for the most part is a wash. You're maybe trying to make a little noise in the SEC tournament, but you may make a regional, but probably a 2 seed, even if you get hot. Now, as somebody posted in the chat a little bit ago, 17, that's the magic number, because 17 probably gets you a national seed. 15 to 16, you're probably top 16. That's just a guess. So that's a great point, William. Just like in LSU sweep in 22, the season was over. Ole Miss sweeps LSU, just slightly gets in the tournament, wins the whole thing. So that's a great point. And that's very similar, not necessarily similar to this, but kind of similar in a certain way. But if you get to 16, I think you're hosting. 17, you're knocking on the door of a number 8 seed. There's a lot of water that's got to pass on the bridge, but I really like where Ole Miss is sitting right now. They're leading 5-0 here in the top half of the fourth inning down in Trustmark. Rebels ranked number 25th, which is a joke, D1 baseball, but we're in on the joke. Ben Garrett and I we're in on the joke. We're making you money because we're pissing people off to talk about it. And go to d1baseball.com. By the way, I've asked them to come on the show. Please, love to talk baseball with you. You're open invite, D1 baseball. But the Rebels over number 22 Southern Miss 5-0 here in the top half of the fourth inning.
The first few we got to get on here soon. Owen Pano. Got to get Owen Pano.
This is an Owen Pano stands account.
We got to get Owen Pano. And Judd, I'll hit up Judd. I'll take care of Judd. You take care
of
Owen
I'll try to get, yes.
All right, let's end this thing with a couple of questions from the chat. T Walker 2232.
I
We're
don't
still
know
going to have an AYS debate.
I don't know if that's a great idea. If you guys want that, then we'll do that. But it's just going to be a lot of nervousness. It's going to be a lot of back and forth. It's just going to be a lot of anxiety and uncomfortable for me. For me, not for you.
Well, they just send me in. I'm like Jon Snow, man, with the Battle of the Bastards and the sword, man. I'm fine with it.
So uncomfortable.
Not for me.
Dakota, if Ole Miss wins 16 conference games, I think they host in Oxford.
All right. I thought at Cheney Young 70-13, I thought Caleb Odom would be tight end 1-2. He's more of a big wide receiver. He's never going to be the
I didn't
1 or 2.
He's a Caleb Lee. Yeah.
He's never going to be the 1 or 2 inline blocker for Ole Miss on a down-to-down basis. Not in that way, but as a big receiver in the slot and the seams, replicating some of the stuff that Daquan Wright did over the middle of the field. Absolutely. He in the pass catching way, I think he could be that. But in terms of all around tight end, I think others have more upside than him, but not that he's limited, only that he's been a tight end since last August.
Yeah.
So he's going to need some time.
I didn't name him in the tight end room. I just really see him as a stand-up slot receiver. But
think of him as a big receiver.
Yeah.
A big receiver.
To me, he's Evan Ingram.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. He's Kyle Pitts if he's at his very best. So, that for me, Hayden Bradley is a better blocker. Maybe Kane can be that, especially in the inline when he has to sit up and he has to hit guys that he's not used to hitting over his football career. He's former wide receiver, folks. So, I think Caleb Odom, there are big expectations for him. A lot of his expectations come, especially as a pass catcher, if Luke Cost can be that down-to-down, all-around side end as far as an inline blocker, catching all those things. Both of them, you're looking to replicate what Daquan put up, but then go a little bit further because it's 2 rather than 1, and you have depth of options that you otherwise didn't have because Caleb Odom was your number 2 last year, despite the fact that he was playing it for the very first time. This has been Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben on Twitter. We're going to sign off, Brad Logan and I. But if you want to come hang out with us further, we're always at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com and affiliate on 3. The QR code on your screen, if you scan it today, the spring sale that we've got going on at the Ole Miss Spirit on 3, 50% off an annual subscription. That's half off, so $50 a full year to come talk about Ole Miss baseball. Keep up to date with this game that's been on your screen for most of this hour and 15-ish minutes. Unfortunately, for all of us, Ole Miss baseball can't watch it on TV right now. You might be wondering, where's the game? Not on TV. So if you're late coming in, man, just know that you're not crazy. There is no TV to be found for this game, but right now the Ole Miss Rebels are 5-0, or up 5-0 in the top of the 4th, in a ranked matchup in Pearl, Mississippi. Is the
does everybody like this 6:00 show on Tuesday night? I'd love everybody's thoughts because it feels like it's a little looser. I think because you kind of got the work day behind you. It's kind of at a good spot because of where it falls in the week, and you kind of get ready for the rest of the week. So I'm just curious if you guys would like us to continue.
Well, Ole Miss fan 198824 says yes. He loves it. Dakota King says yes. Fred G. Reb says keep doing it. I think we've stumbled upon Tuesdays at 6 p.m. It's the chill vibes, nothing but good vibe show with Ben and Brad. This is Talk of Champions. Go to the Ole Miss Spirit. We'd love to have you. And also wherever you get your podcasts, in YouTube, Apple, Spotify, I don't know. Search Talk of Champions. Leave a 5-star review. It doesn't matter what you say. You can say, Ben, put a hat back on. Brad, let me see if you can touch your spiky hair. Yeah, I don't know what you say. Just make sure it's five stars. That's all we need, 5 stars. So the Ole Miss Spirit in that, you'll be helping us most of all. Thanks to all of y'all. Tax season ends tomorrow. Hooray. Yes, Mary, I filed mine with TurboTax. Did the best I could, hoping that I did it all the way I was supposed to. Whit Spencer at B&A Mortgage helped me out with it, though, so I trust Whit Spencer.
Before we go, I need something. I need to say. Yeah. Go ahead. I need to say something before we get out of here.
Okay. Of USA Benefits Group, College Corner, Allen Samuels, Chrysler Dodge, Jeep Ram of Oxford, of course, C-Spire, Advanced Technology Solutions, cspire.com, Game Day Haircuts, and the Hearn Law Firm. Brad, take us out.
Yep. All right. I want to say something real quick. I'd met Drew Moak before, but everybody knows that Saturday, the 2006, is that right? Is it 5 or 6, Ben? What team did they honor?
2006.
Okay. obviously Drew was a part of that, and I had a chance to visit with a lot of people, and I'm going to forget some names.
Drew
so please
Horn
forgive
was a
me.
part of that, not Drew Moak, you silly friend.
What did I say?
Drew Moak?
Is that what did I say?
USA Benefits Group. You said Drew Moak. It's Drew Horn that we saw. My guy Drew Horn of Modern Woodman. That's
Okay.
who I saw.
Who? Okay. I saw Drew Moak, who was at B&A Bank.
B&A Bank is Witt. You didn't see Drew. Drew Moak is USA Benefits Group. You're getting all
We're giving everybody free publicity tonight. Who's B&A Bank?
Witt Spencer, Carolyn
All right.
Brownson.
Witt was a part of that 2006 team.
Nope.
Who's a part of that team in administrative?
Drew Horn.
Okay.
Drew Horn of Modern Woodman.
There it is. So visit with Drew, met a lot of people, a lot of teams, a lot of people on that team. But I had some pretty good conversations. And so and I don't think I've told you this, but I'll tell everybody that's watching. I had an opportunity to talk with Zach Miller and Mark Wright. And a great story between those two is they both allowed me to tell this brief story. And by the way, we're going to, Ben, you don't know this, we're going to have a lot of these guys on the podcast because they're all like, CJ Ketchup's like, man, I want to come on. And so it was great. So
Zach Cozart said he'd come on.
Really? He took a picture at the stadium with his big graphic up inside the stadium.
I would hope so.
And so I'm talking to Zach Miller, and I immediately go back to the time to where they were, I forget who they were playing. Zach, who was really, really quick, but wasn't the tallest guy. So his legs always ran much faster than the rest of the guys. Long story short, he took a single and got into a double and slid in. And I remember getting really excited. And it was with my father-in-law at the time. He was not my father-in-law, but he was the dad of my now wife. And I just remember how excited he got. We were actually standing behind home plate. He liked to stand there before the scouts stood there and they monitor that. Now, back then, James and I would always stand behind home plate. And also I told him how much we appreciated him as a player, as an advocate for the program and coming back. And it was really cool to talk with Zach about that. And then I talked with Mark Wright, and I had a hard time keeping it together because Mark Wright was James's favorite player. I have not seen Mark Wright until he hit 1,000 home runs as a Rebel. And so I'll be honest, we all change, Ben. You know, some of us grow really big beards, and Mark had a beard. I didn't recognize him. And it took me by surprise. He said, I'm Mark Wright. And just, I can't explain it, but like all these emotions just flow over me because I immediately thought about James. And James passed about 1.5 years ago. And so anyway, I said, Mark, I need to tell you this. And so I told him about how James always talked about how much he appreciated Mark Wright. And James was a huge Bianco guy, had him to come and speak at a lot of events in Mississippi and in North Mississippi. And so having a chance to talk with Mark Wright, it almost felt like I was talking, with James right beside me. And it was really cool. And so I told Mark how much we appreciated him as a Rebel and how much we appreciated all he did as an advocate for the program, but also how much James would really appreciate me telling him that. And so James was a very button-up dude. He was a guy that loved a lot of things, and not many things he loved more than Ole Miss baseball. Having a chance to go back and talk to a lot of those 2006 players, that's when a lot of these people in the chat became fans. We cut the legs off the chairs. We sat out there on the right field, the left field side, and that's when we eventually would build out that left field side and that right field side. But that's when we all kind of fell in love with baseball, fell in love with Ole Miss baseball. Is having a chance to see that Miami series. I heard names that I haven't heard before. You remember the Weeks guy that was so good for
Ricky
Miami?
Weeks.
My goodness.
No, Jamil. Ricky started
Jamil
for the
Weeks.
Brewers. Jamil
Yeah.
Weeks. He got drafted too, but he didn't really last very long, even though I think he was a top 2-round pick.
Yeah.
But Ricky Weeks' little brother, Jamil Weeks. Yes.
That was it. And, we talked a lot about, remember Oregon State won it that year, but Miami was as good as anybody in the country. And that 3-game set was tough. The year before that 3-game set against Texas, and of course that super regional against Virginia. But the sun would shine on Ole Miss eventually in 2022. It took a lot of those years to kind of get ready for that moment. And what I really thought was cool, Ben, and you'll appreciate this, is talking to a lot of those players. They were like, Brad, it wasn't our time. But we hope that we were the foundation and the bedrock for all of these teams that came after us to understand what the importance it was to be for Ole Miss baseball. Every one of them talked about how Mike Bianco was, how much he wanted to win and how much he did about wanting to the early years of Mike Bianco and how hard the team was fighting. But they all talked about how Mike always keeps up with them and how solid of a man he is. Look, Ben, I talk ad nauseum about, coaches being exactly that. Wins, losses, X's and O's. But your really good coaches know how to blend it into real life, and how Mike always kind of feeds into his players. I talked to people that were, Thomas Flout's a heart surgeon now. I think it's a surgeon. I don't know what he's some kind of physician that he's cardiologist. And then you talk to salesmen and people that own businesses. It's people that leave that field, everything they've got, blood, sweat, and tears, and to be able to pour back into the program. I just want to say a special thank you to Jessica Lynch and the M Club for getting this together, and all the players that came back, because I'll be honest, it was really cool seeing all of those players, and it was kind of sentimental too, because, Ben, how many people love that team that are no longer with us? How much a difference they made in all of their lives, all of those claps, all that's thrown in the dirt, all of that poured into that Ole Miss baseball program that are looking down on us now. So it was kind of a really cool moment for me, and I just wanted to share that with everybody about how much they still love this program.
That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that is this enough for you? I'll get into that in a second. Can we get this after that wonderful, nice, beautiful story?
Here I am trying to hold back tears, and you asked me to say an expletive on the air. I don't understand, man. Do you not understand what this is about? This is about love. It's about the game of baseball. It's about how much you love your university. And then you throw up a card on the screen, want me to say it, and embarrass my family. What is this?
Oh, hilarious. And I didn't.
We were partners in this.
We are.
For another run.
I know, 6-0. As the sun sets in Pearl,
Did Pacetta just hit a home run?
He did.
He is absolutely on fire.
Golly, man. Dude, I love this lineup. I'm serious. Judd Udemark, and I know some don't love the idea of Judd leading off, but I'm a big advocate for, in lineup construction, bat your best two hitters first and second. I don't care who they are. I don't care how fast they are. Hit your best two hitters first and second. You want them getting the most at bats. That's exactly what Mike has done here with Udemark and Tristan Pacetta. Don't love Colin Reuter batting third because he reminds me a lot of Ben Van Cleve in terms of his overall upside and his lack of power for what he plays. But other than that, I think this has been one of the best lineups he's run out there. And it's not just because, as an Owen Pano truther, folks, he's finally delivering. Two home runs last week.
I want to say exactly what Mike Bianco said. I believe it was Friday night. It could have been Saturday night. But he said, hey, we see it every day in practice with Owen Pano. I'm just glad that y'all are getting to see it because we see it every day.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it too.
I don't want to say the light has come on for him, but the light has came on for Owen Pano.
Yeah, you don't want to jinx it. That's the whole thing. You don't want to jinx it. Final thoughts in just a second. First, let's hear from our sponsors one last time. This is Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett at Spirit Ben on Twitter. He's Brad Logan. We're both at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. Quick break to hear from our sponsors who we're so thankful for y'all supporting and patronizing and they've been great to us, and we want to be great back to them. So final thoughts after this is just Talk of Champions.
Homes and businesses from the whims of nature. You need more than just quality materials. You require Riverland Roofing. Licensed, insured, and certified, Riverland Roofing offers not only the assurance of excellence, but a tailored approach to your unique structural needs and budget. To learn more about what Riverland Roofing can do for you and the community, call them at 662-644-4297 or visit riverlandroofing.com.
Hey, Rebels, your truck is here. Ellen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford presents the all-new Ram Rebel. It's Ram, the Rebel way. Send an unmistakable signal. Rebel 24/7. Ram Rebel from your friend in the car business. Ellen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford.
Come by, let's be friends.
I'm Warrior Philip Hearn. Raising my family here in Mississippi, I've tried to teach my kids to help others. I learned that from my parents. And as a Mississippi lawyer, I want to help you too. If you're hurt in a traffic accident, 18-wheeler wreck, or have insurance trouble, call 601-720-3541. That's my cell. You call, I'll answer. Let's get started. Make your first call to the Hearn Law Firm today.
Thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to all of you for listening. I want to give, since I threw this together during the entire during the show as Brad was talking, let's one last time show the highlights that Brad got from practice today. And I want you to give me one more time, last to go, your final thoughts on what we learned, if anything, from Ole Miss spring football.
I immediately walked in and walked to the right and saw Deuce Knight. And so I'm not saying Deuce Knight's going to come in and be this phenom, but what it looks like, he looks to be a little more controlled, a little more polished. There's a lot of communication between Deuce Knight and Trinidad Chambers. I do know that. You have to understand, Ben, we're talking, I had 7.5 minutes. So it was get in and get out. So here we see the defensive line. Had a chance to watch him briefly. Randall Joyner, as people know, he's got there with the backwards hat. He's not only leading drills, Ben, he's down there with the defensive line. Everybody knows how much I love this defensive front. But, yeah, Deuce Knight looks great. We'll see him on the rollout to the right, throw it across his body, and just looks really good. I mean, he looks bigger, he looks stronger, and he looks smoother. It's just a really good look today. I had a chance to see the offensive line just for a little bit, and I love the fact that, here it is, Terrence Metcalf is doing an incredible job getting down there with those offensive linemen. I love it. I love that he's a Mississippian. I love that he played for Ole Miss, played in the league, is an All-American. I think if he's not, he should have been. Great offensive lineman for Ole Miss and doing a great job as an assistant coach. I love the fact that Pete is bringing back all the former players that he has that's in the coaching industry. I want to get a little bit better look at that running back room. I'm going to do a little more emphasis next week and see if I can get some more information from that wide receiver room and that running back room. By the way, at the end of 4, one run on one hit. There were no errors and no runners left on base. At the end of 4, it's Ole Miss 6, Southern Miss no score.
It's 6-0.
Yeah.
Top of the 5th with one out now. You're behind, sir. Catch up.
At the end of 4, Ben.
I know, but we're now in the top of the 5th, and there's already
– Well, I'm looking at my ESPN app. It's running behind.
Now Gray Eubanks just singled through the right side to put a man on with a 6.
Is Robertson still in?
No, Landon Koenig's pitching now.
I got you.
Yeah, he's going into his second inning. So,
which, by the way, real quick, I got one more quick story before we go. So, one person that my dad met in Batesville at the antique shop was Landon Koenig's dad. So, everybody in this room has probably no idea who my father is, but he is legitimately the salt of the earth. And so he talks to everybody. And so he walked up to Landon Koenig's dad, who had an Ole Miss shirt on, and said, how are you, sir? What about that Ole Miss shirt? He says, I'm going to tone down my South Dakota accent. But he said, I'm here to see my son play. My son plays baseball for Ole Miss, and his son is Landon Koenig. And I want to say this, and my dad was like, man, y'all watch every game, and we love your son, watch your son play. And it was really cool. The guy was like, we love it in Mississippi, and thank you for saying hello. Everybody's so hospitable, and just having an opportunity to come and see his kid play. And can you imagine, being from South Dakota and coming down and seeing what he saw this past weekend, over 11,000 people watching your team play? I can only imagine what Mr. Koenig was seeing. But if you're watching, or any of the families are watching, thanks for coming to watch your kids play. Thanks for coming to Mississippi. You're always welcome, man. We may have a lot of things that we're not good at, Ben, but one thing we are good at, I think, in Mississippi is being nice to people and welcoming to everybody, regardless of whatever your life background is. And that's one thing I love about our great state. So to Mr. Koenig and the entire Koenig family, I hope you had a great time down from South Dakota. And if you're watching us, come back again soon.
Want to give a shout out too to Judd Udemark's parents. I was in Oxford for soccer recently, and I was walking through the drive-thru at Connie's Chicken with the family because we parked in the wrong place. And I get a shout out from, hey, Ben, and they talked about their son, and it was first time meeting them. They said to tell Brad hello and that they watched what we do. So we got to get Judd back on here, man. He's the absolute best, and he with that big home run in Florida has
did.
sparked so far something pretty special. And if Ole Miss can hold on here in Pearl up 6-0 in the top of the fifth with 2 outs and a man on first for Landon Koenig, Ole Miss pitcher, against Joey Urban, center fielder for Southern Miss, if they can get through this, man, they're well on their way, because the road doesn't get any tougher. Tennessee should be ranked, and you go there this weekend. You still got to go to number 16 Arkansas. You still got number 10 Texas A&M, number 5 Georgia. There's a murderer's row gauntlet, SEC gauntlet upcoming. But as of the top of the fifth inning in Pearl, Mississippi, and coming off of last week, few teams are playing better than Ole Miss baseball right now. And what an incredible run it's been since Judd Udemark. Shout out to your folks. Got that big home run in Florida. Thank you all for joining us tonight. The thousands of you who tuned in, both live and just coming in, dropping in and out, whatever it might be. I think the 6 p.m. Tuesday show, as it's now the middle of the fifth inning, it's a perfect time to end it. Getting out of it is Landon Koenig, getting the final out, going to the bottom of the fifth. It's 6-0 in Pearl for Ole Miss over Southern Miss in a ranked matchup. The 6 p.m. show is here to stay, Brad, so I'll see you at least then, hopefully before then. Tomorrow, going to have Mike Clement. Don't know when it is, but be checking out the YouTube, Talking Champions YouTube, or the Ole Miss Spirit. If it's live or if it's not, we'll have Mike Clement tomorrow. Other guests working on those as well, including Caleb Cunningham, Ole Miss wide receiver. So stay locked in. This has been Talking Champions. Thanks to you all. See you, Brad.
Thanks, everybody.